Hi, everybody. Welcome to Lunch Hour Lessons with Allison. I'm Allison Mädl, and today is December 5th, 2018. Every Wednesday at 12:30, I come to you live to introduce a topic that I think is interesting and give you a lesson to take with you into your daily life. As you can see, I'm in a different environment today. I've come down to California to visit my parents, so you'll see these broadcasts in a little different area for the next few weeks. So yeah, welcome. And if you have questions or like what you hear while this video is going, you can comment over on the right or share the video with others. I've been really excited to bring you all of these each week, and that's been really fun. So today, the topic is going to be nutritional bioindividuality, or in other words, your needs are unique. So basically that every person has different nutritional needs for different activity levels, stages of life, things like that. And bioindividuality is a term that I use in my practice for being a nutritional therapy practitioner. It's one of the best tools that I can use to assess people's needs in my practice. So it has a concept that each person has a set of factors in their life that determine what types of foods will be most appropriate for that body at that time. So it does take genetics into account. Lots of people think about food and what they eat, their diet, as really relating to their genetic needs. And it does take that into account, but it also takes into account the emerging science of what's called epigenetics. And epigenetics is going to be the subject of a future broadcast, but basically it's the concept that your genes are not your destiny, and they can be turned on or off by different lifestyle and dietary factors that you engage in. So it's a really interesting concept and a really emerging scientific field that epigenetics is. But in terms of bioindividuality, the trick with it is to identify what aspects of your life require different nutritional strategies. So here's some examples. I'll list about 4 different examples. Athletes, so those with physically demanding jobs or athletic careers are going to need to eat more long-burning sources of fuel, energy in terms of food, than someone with a relatively sedentary lifestyle. Next, a woman who is pregnant or nursing an infant would also need to consume high levels of vitamins and minerals, more so than someone who wasn't nursing an infant or pregnant. Particularly fat-soluble vitamins are some of the most important ones there. Children have particular nutritional needs to fuel their growing brains and bodies. Also, if someone has a digestive disturbance, removing particular foods for a time, then focusing on healing that gut lining, and then later reintroducing foods can be a really good strategy. But that's not something that someone without those digestive disturbances would necessarily need to engage in. Also, finally, for these examples, someone with an autoimmune condition or any sort of immune challenge, they may need to follow a more limited diet for a certain period of time, and maybe even a little longer than for most people. So our bodies really have a way of telling us what we need, and we can kind of listen to those needs in different stages of our life and be able to really create a personalized way of eating for ourselves. So our bodies are also adapted to the ethnic food patterns of our ancestors. So for example, someone with a Japanese heritage, it's been found that people with that heritage actually have different types of seaweed digesting enzymes in their gut that someone with like a North American heritage like myself would not have. So that's just an interesting tidbit to show that we actually have different ways of digesting food based on our ethnic background. So knowing that bioindividuality exists is really like a first step. It's really important because it means that there's no one-size-fits-all way of eating, which is really important this day and age because there's so many different ways of eating out there, and it gets very confusing. And if we think about it, that we have to keep our own needs in mind and that your needs are unique, that really can help guide you towards your ideal diet for yourself. So what you can do is you need to take many aspects of your life into account and be honest with which foods make you feel well and which foods make you feel poorly. And that's something that I didn't do. I'll tell a little story. When about 6 or 7 years ago, I embarked on a plan to change my health problems, and I embarked on a diet that I stayed on for about 1.5 years and probably felt worse during that diet than I did any other time in my life. And I had already had health challenges. That's why I was going and trying to change my diet. But I just persisted, and I thought the foods are on the list. I need to stick with this. And I just was very strong-headed about it, and I didn't listen to the signs that my body was giving me. I had all sorts of symptoms that come up that I had never had before. But I was convinced because so many people had told me that this was the right way to recover from chronic illness, and it'll help you, it wasn't intended to be a forever type of diet. It was intended to be a healing diet, but I still stayed on it longer than I should have if I had listened to my body. So the best way to find out what is actually best for you is to keep a food diary. And that's where we write down the foods that we eat each day and then make a note of whether we feel well or poorly after that meal, intake of beverages, and also just really paying attention to food and mood. So mood changes and also energy levels and things like that can be really helpful to note down. So that would be my suggestion as the biggest way to narrow in your bioindividuality. You can also use an app like Chronometer, which is good, but I actually prefer the paper pencil way. I think it's more helpful. So you can also consider working with a nutritional therapy practitioner like myself. We're trained to assess people's individual needs based on symptoms, food journals, things like that, and create recommendations and dietary plans for our clients. So that's basically all the time we have for today. Be sure to tell a friend this week's lunch hour lesson, which is we each have unique nutritional needs. We each have unique nutritional needs. Like my page to get the weekend tip that comes out every Saturday. And that's all the time we have for today. So I'll see you next week. Bye for now.